Two-time World Series of Poker champion Doyle Brunson is quoted as having said, "No one wants to go out on a limb, but that's where all the fruit is." What he meant by that was, in order to win, you must often take risks. One of the biggest risks of my life was when I worked one summer in Yellowstone National Park. It was in the summer of 1991, and I decided to work there at the recommendation of one of my good friends at the time, Jeff Jennings. He had told me the story of how he had worked there the previous year and what a wonderful time he had had, and this convinced me that I should try it for myself, and so I did. My journey began in the bus station in Charlotte, North Carolina at about 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning. I got onto the bus at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning and rode that bus until Tuesday night around 10 p.m. I covered about 1,800 miles in the process and got to see a lot of America I otherwise would never have seen. The most memorable part of my bus trip out there was getting to see the Aurora Borealis from the window of a moving Greyhound bus going through North Dakota late Sunday night. When I arrived in Bozeman, Montana, I checked into my hotel room, I got a good night's sleep, and the next morning I got up early to catch the bus to Yellowstone National Park, where I'd be working in Mammoth Hot Springs as a dishwasher. But it wasn't about washing dishes, it was about being in Yellowstone National Park. And I had an idea of how beautiful it would be there at the park, but I didn't know just how beautiful it would be. There was an abundance of wildlife everywhere you looked, from elk to bison to bighorn sheep to pronghorn antelope to these little prairie dogs that were everywhere around the dormitories where all of the people that were there working for the summer lived, and we referred to them as whistle pigs because they had this really high-pitched whistle that they communicated with each other with. I was working in Mammoth Hot Springs, and it really was an interesting landscape there. Up where the actual hot springs were was amazing. It looked like the surface of the moon. It was all gray and white, and because of the sulfur from the hot springs, no vegetation would grow there, so it was all really barren, really eerie, but in a cool way. I got to see Old Faithful, the one thing that everyone knows about Yellowstone National Park. I got to see Lake Yellowstone, which is beautiful and had a really beautiful lodge there, and I also got to see the Grand Canyon of Yellowstone, which was pretty amazing too. I made a lot of really good friends while I was working there that summer. I met a young woman named Ellen from Wisconsin and her best friend Sally Ann, and we spent a lot of time together. And I met a man from St. Louis, Missouri with pink hair. His name was Randy. He was the bartender at the employee pub, so I got to know him really well because I spent a lot of time in the pub, because as deep as we were into the park, you could not get radio reception or television, so you had to find other ways to amuse yourself, which usually translated to a lot of outdoor activities, hiking, camping, canoeing, playing a lot of hacky sack and frisbee golf. But it was a really great time, and I'm really glad I did it. I wouldn't have met any of those people if I hadn't have gone. I wouldn't have developed a lot of the lifelong memories that I did by going out there, and I really am glad that I went. The summer flew by, as they say, time flies when you're having fun, and it did, and before I knew it, it was time to come home. And the impression that it made on me, the trip that summer, was that you need to get out there and live. Life is a journey. It's not about the destination, and you need to get outside of your comfort zone and get out and experience new things. It will help you to grow as a person. As Theodore Roosevelt is quoted as having said, "It is far better to dare mighty things than to live in gray twilight that knows neither victory nor defeat." I find this quote particularly poignant because Theodore Roosevelt is in fact the founder of the national park system, and he was a risk taker himself.